So when we hand over designs to engineers, we expect them to come back to us with something that looks exactly the same as what we designed. But usually it's not the case. They will come back to us and we will look at what they built, and it's just different. Something is off. But we immediately blame engineers for that. But there's a lot of times as well that it's not them, it's us. It's because we as designers didn't design it well enough for them to interpret. So that's when the topic of structuring your designs comes in. So let's look at these two home pages, identical screens, but then one is labeled unstructured and the other one is well structured. Let's look at this unstructured design first. So everything is well and good, looks good, but then when you navigate through all the layers, you can see there's a lot of overlap in there. The layers are not grouped properly. All the identical UI elements are not converted into components. Same for these cards, and there's no auto layout added to them. And there's no auto layout added to the whole screen. So when you resize them, when you resize the screen, there's no sense of responsiveness in this. But when we look at the well-structured design, so you can see here, when you look at each of the layers, everything is properly spaced. There's proper definition on the height of each of the layers. The header is properly grouped. So this left section is grouped properly. Everything that needs to be a component is converted into a component. Even these cards are converted into components. As you can see, the main screen has auto layout added to it. So when you resize it, it's responsive. And the beauty of this is when you create another version of this, which is let's say a tablet, it will just resize on its own. So that's how easy it is to work with a well-structured design. And it's not just for you, but for engineers as well. So they will look at it and they will know that this is the height of this layer right here, and the gaps in between them is 10 pixels. Very easy. The gaps in between all of these are 16 pixels. The padding of this card right here is 24 pixels all throughout. So it's very easy because everything is properly defined, everything is properly structured. So this is our goal. This is what we want to achieve. To achieve this, we just need to fix all the small issues that are in here in this unstructured designs. So let's move on to the first one. So the first issue that we need to solve is using extra layers of shapes and separate images as backgrounds. So instead, we will just use frame backgrounds. The issue with using separate layers is it will just generate extra lines of code for you, which you don't need. So one example of this is this header right here. So one issue is it's not grouped properly, and there's an extra layer of rectangle in here that serves as a background, which when you look at it as a whole, it looks okay, but then it's just an extra layer. And then when you convert it into code, it will generate a few lines of code for you and a separate line, a separate set of CSS styling, which is extra code that you don't need. What you need is just to convert all of these to frames and add a background to it, and it will just generate one code for you, which is a CSS background property. So to fix this, what I would do is I would delete this background and start grouping all of these properly. So I'm just adding frames to all of these. Okay. So what I did, I just added an auto layout frame so that we can add padding. Yeah. So for this one, this is the frame where we need to add the background. So let's look at for the color. And that's it. Easy. We just remove the rectangle and see that we still have the same the same look that we want to achieve. It has a background, it's just like it has a color background, and then everything is properly grouped. So that's one example. Second example is this, where we have two separate layers as a background. So we have this gradient right here, and we have this image of a phone. So what we will do in this case is I will just simplify this, remove extra layers, and save this background right here as an image, as one image, and add it as a background property for this whole frame. So this is that image. I already exported it. So what I will do is I will just Command Option C to copy the styling of this. So I will remove these two layers and paste it here. So you can see it looks the same, and basically you remove two extra layers and just added a background. This way it will be easier to manage the responsiveness and the styling of it as well, because you just need to manipulate the background. You don't have to edit styling for two separate layers. So yeah, so that's the beauty of this. And then of course, less code, cleaner code. Yeah. So now let's move on to this. Second topic is removing overlapping layers. So you can see the issue in here are all of these overlapping layers. So the issue with this is when you send it to engineers, the engineers will not be able to see what's the actual height of these two layers, and then the gap in between these two, they will just eyeball it. They will not be able to properly define it. So there will be some inconsistencies in there. So what I will do to fix this is very easy. I will just, for a one liner like this, I will just click this auto width from Figma, and for this one I will just click this auto height, and you can see there's no overlap already, and you can see that the gap in between them is 3. I don't like prime numbers in this. I will just maybe use 4, and I will just add I will just group this properly, frame selection, and same for this. So it's just one line. I will just click auto width, and this one as well, auto width. Yep, and that's it. That's like fixing removing overlapping layers. And I think there's an overlap in here as well, so I will just ungroup this for now, and just use these two layers and convert into a group or a frame. And there's an overlap in here as well, which easy to fix. That's it. Yep. Okay, so the next issue on the list is complex backgrounds or images. So you can see here I have two samples. One is this big image, so it's a bigger image than what we have right now. It's a bigger graphic, so this one is okay. If when you run Locofy with this, it will just be converted to an SVG, so it's fine. For this one, it's a little bit bigger, and for example, this, what I would do, I would normally group this as a separate graphic, and this one is a separate graphic. So especially if you have this, when you convert this with Locofy, it might be treated as two separate images, and much worse is this can be one layer, this can be one layer, or one element. So all of these will have its own lines of code and a different set of CSS as well. So you don't need all of that. So what we suggest is to just convert this into one image. So what I would do is I will just bring this out just to preserve the layered file, the layered version in there. And what I would do is I would Shift Command C to copy the PNG, and since I'm recording, I will just use this shortcut right here, paste to replace. So you can see there that there's an image, so it has been replaced by the image. So So now it will be easier to manage because you will only manage a single image. It will have one line of code and one set of CSS. And when you are doing responsiveness to it, it's easy to manage as well. Okay, so next is this banner right here. So I think maybe let's just duplicate. So it's the same as what we have in here. So we already have this image. So let's just copy. So I copied the styling, and let's remove those layers and paste the styling in here. So see, it's the same, almost identical. It's just this one have rounded corners, this one doesn't. I think that's okay. So let's maybe change this to do. And what I would do is run Locofy with this to see the difference. So let me just select both of these. Okay, now it's done. Yep, it's done. So let's look at these two banners. So this one is the don't, where we have multiple backgrounds. So let's see. So you can see here you have one background that is this, and it has this set of CSS styles, and then another one which is this an image that has this set of styling. So few lines of extra code that you don't need. So instead, let's see this second banner that has one image only. So you will not be able to select that image. Instead, you are selecting the whole banner because there's no extra layer of image as a background. So you can see there's no extra layer, the code is shorter, and also there's only one background, only one line of code in the CSS side that is generated because we combine the image. So it's just this background image. So yeah, so you see the benefit of just flattening the image right there. So if you have a lot of these sections in your design, you will save a lot on the lines of code, and yeah, of course your code will be lighter and cleaner as well. Yep. So that's it for this topic. Next will be using components when designing similar UI structure. So this is one of the most common issues of designers today. So they will just continue and design one card and duplicate them, not thinking of like the future that they might be the future. What I'm talking about, the future is like 5 minutes from now. They might be changing some of the spaces in here. They might be adding like a certain UI element within this card. So they are not thinking about that. Let me close this. And instead they'll just copy and paste and duplicate all of these without converting it to component. So the way to do it is, of course, create a component and duplicate all of these as instances of that component. So when you want to add an extra layer, if you want to change anything or you want to change the spacing, so for example in here I want to change the gap to 10, you can see it changes in there. And also if I want to add extra layers of text in here, for example, let me just add 10% discount, yeah, and group this together and maybe change. Yep, you can see everything is updated and it's easy. You will not need to change all of them one by one. So you just need to change the main component. Yeah. So that's it for this topic. So let's move on to the next. Okay, so let's move to naming your layers. So this is very important because layer names will be used in different parts of the code. So it will be used for class names, it will be used for component names and component prop names. So it's very important because it will be used across. Um, so Locofy have a layer name feature. So when you run Locofy Lightning, it will scan through your design. I will scan all the layers, and depending on the position of your layer, where it should be, is it at the top? Then most likely it's in the header. So we will run all of those um, AI rules, and then of course we will try to name your layers as best as we can. But then still, it's not 100% perfect. So we always suggest users to rename their layers, especially the important ones. Like for example, this one. This is a logo. So you can name it as a company logo, main logo, for example, and this search box, and then for example this one, and the rest. You can name the important ones that you want to be named properly, for example. So what we will do right now is we will try to rename some of the main ones right here, and then we will run Locofy and see the results. Okay, let's just rename some of these. Okay. Oops. Okay, this is a text, so it's okay. Okay. Okay, let's just name it freelancer. Okay. Okay, this is not group, so oops. Okay, let's just keep it this way because there are texts. This one, project. So that's maybe, I think that should be enough for this session. Let's see, and yeah, let's just run Locofy. Yeah, again, Locofy will run through the whole page and scan each of the layers. Let's see, yeah, so there are edits because we did some edits, so Locofy will detect that as well. So it's either you view code, so you will be viewing the old code, the previous code that you generated for this, for example, or you will generate a new code. So yeah, it's done. Let's see how it did. Okay, let's close this. Okay, looks good. Let's see the layer names. Okay, so yeah, so header. Yeah, we didn't rename the header. You see, it successfully named this whole section right here as a header. So yes, correct. Let's see the logo. They did name. Oh, logo. Oh, it named it logo container, so it's fine. So just to give you context right here, so these are the Figma layers that we retain. So we didn't, because when we run Locofy Lightning, we also try to remove some groupings that are not necessary and generate new groupings. So these are the ones that we retain, and these are the new groupings that Loco.ai have generated. And then, yeah, search container. So it successfully did that. What else? Search placeholder. So yeah, it's good. Freelancer icon. Okay. Welcome message. Okay, nice. So it successfully grouped this whole thing. So remember, we didn't group this, and then yeah, it's good because it's renamed. It grouped this two text right here and name it welcome message. So it's good. Yeah, I think more or less that's it. Yeah, it's good. I think it went well. It was able to capture the names that we've added, and also it was able to identify, like for example the header. So we didn't rename it. It was able to identify that as header. So yeah, I think that was successful. Okay, let's yeah. So that's for this topic, naming your layers. So this is very important. We suggest every designer to do this every time, whether you are handing over your designs to engineers. It gives them more context. And of course, when you are running Locofy to convert your designs to code, of course, I've shown you how it did. I've shown you the result. It's really helpful overall, because it will be used for class names. Your code will be more contextual, because your class name will be properly named. You don't have to manually rename them once you exported the code. And of course, it will be used for components and props as well. So when you hand over the code to the engineers, they will know that this component is for welcome message. This component is for the search box. So yeah, please name your layers. It's just a good practice. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, or topics. Yeah, so we have a few honorable mentions in here. These are small ones, but I think still worth mentioning. So first is using paragraph spacing instead of adding a new line for paragraphs. So again, I have two identical frames in here, almost identical, but you can see in here to have this space in between paragraphs, what I did is yeah, so I press entered once, and you can see this not enough space. Basically, it just creates a new line, but we want a bit of separation in between the paragraphs. So I would press enter again. Same for this. I would press enter twice, and that's something that's a bit, it's okay when you're designing, but I would say even in designing or generating code, I would say don't do that. There's a better way of doing it. So what I would do in this case is, you can see in here, yeah, so I started from this, but when I entered, I didn't have to enter twice. So what I did in there is, you can see, select this paragraph. So let's move this a little bit, and we go to this paragraph spacing in here. I have it set to 20. So it means you can manipulate that paragraph spacing. You can see I'm increasing the paragraph spacing, and the spacing between all of these paragraphs. When you press the enter key, it will increase. So let's set it back to 20. Okay, and now I want to just show how it affects the code. So let's try and scan this. Okay, it's done. So let's see the effect of that. So let me just bring this up a little bit so you can see more code. Okay, so this is the don't part, the don't frame. You can see more or less okay, but in this case, let's see the code. So this is, so hi there. Yeah. Oh, there's some issue in here. But yeah, let's ignore that for a bit. So this is the first paragraph, right? So hi there, I'm Esther, blah blah. So it's just one whole line. But then after that, there's this section, blank line, NBSP. So NBSP is it's like a blank space. That's the equivalent to HTML. So yeah, so it generated this code right here. I'm not sure if there is a corresponding CSS style. I don't think there is, but still it generates this this extra code, and it also have this in here right after the next paragraph. So that's what we want to avoid, because it's an extra line of code. It's how many lines? 4 lines already. And then if you have a lot of paragraphs in your design, then there'll be an issue. Not an issue, but your code will not be as clean as what you want, and yeah, the structure is just not the best. So we want the best production ready code for you. So let's look at this and see if there's an extra code. So this is, so when I click on this, this is the CSS text corresponding to this. And let's look at the paragraph. So you can see here, so this is the first paragraph. Immediately after the first paragraph will be this whole section right here of the second paragraph. So the title and the text for it. So it doesn't generate the blank line and the NBSP code. Same for the second paragraph to the third paragraph. So to all these bullets. So there's an issue again in here, but yeah, so yeah, we'll fix that. So yeah, better to use paragraph spacing than entering twice. You will get clean code, less lines of code to worry about. Okay, so that's it for this first honorable mention. Let's go to the second one. So it's almost the same concept. It's just a bit of a difference in the implementation. So you can see here, so instead of using border, instead of using a line separator, use a border. So it's the same as, yeah, the same concept as the rectangle. Instead of using rectangle as a background, use like a CSS property instead. So in the previous topic, use a background CSS property. In this case, use a border CSS property. So let's look at these two cards. So identical cards, same result, but then this one, why does it have an X in there? So let's see. So you have a separate line here. So this will work at some cases. I'm not saying that don't do this at all, because at some designs, some type of designs, this will be a better option rather than using this one. But in this case, in this kind of implementation, I would say it's better to have to just use a border and instead of a line. So in this case, you can see I have a line in here. This one have a padding, which is here, and a border. So border bottom. So this was not possible previously because Figma doesn't allow to add borders separately. But now you can specify which border you want, like border bottom, top border, and the two sides. Okay, let's see the effect of this in code. Let's see. Okay, it's done. Let's bring this down a little bit. I want to see more. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is the don't. So let's see how, and let's use the edit mode. So you can see here, I can click on the line, and this is the line of code that it has generated, and this is the CSS for that. So a few extra lines of code, and then let's see the contender, which is this one. Okay, let's look at, okay, we are on edit mode already. So they will not be able to select a line because there's no extra layer in there. So you can see when you select this, the line is already part of your selection. So it means it's like a CSS property. So you will be able to see it somewhere in here. It's not here. Oh, it's there. Yeah, avatar, icon, border, bottom. So this is the one. So it's an inline style. Yep. So instead of having like a few lines of code in here in the TSS file, and also a few lines for the CSS, you will only generate this much code just for the border. So you, yeah, your code will be a lot cleaner. Okay, yeah, so that's good. Okay, part 2. So let's start with the basics of grouping. So grouping is really important in your designs because it will make your designs more structured. When you hand over to engineers, yeah, it will basically make your designs more intentional. So they will know the kind of structure you want them to build it. So like for example, um, if this is grouped properly, they will know that this should come together, and the height of this affects this one basically. And this, if this is grouped properly, then engineers will know the gaps in between all of these, the gaps in between these texts. So it will basically make your design more structured, easier for the engineers to interpret. And of course, if you're using a tool like Locofy or even Figma's dev mode, it will generate a more structured code. So let's dive into this design right here. I will start with a small component first, maybe this one. So my principle in our grouping is very simple. If the elements inside a certain group has the same space in between them, or the same gap in between them, they have to be grouped together. So whenever the gap changes, then it should be a separate group or a separate layer of its own. So yeah, let me just take this as an example. So I would say this should be a layer on its own, and then these should be grouped together, this whole thing. But within this, there's a couple of groups that need to be added. So I would say this is a group of its own. So let's so let's group this together. Whenever I group, whenever I do design, I would normally add auto layout right away. But in this case, just to make sure we don't tweak things that we don't need, because we're not on the auto layout topic yet, I will just add a frame for these. That's to give that concept of grouping. So let me just frame the selection. This is one group. I would say we group this together as well. So these are one. These will be grouped together as well, because at least we can navigate. We can manage the separation between these two. So these will be also grouped together, and then you can see here the gap in between this is 8, and the gap in between this is 14. So so that's why I separate this group between this. So I would group this as well, because I wanted this group to be 1, and then this is just a layer on its own. So that's how I would normally group. But yeah, of course, this is not done because we need to add auto layout on this, but that will be on the next topic. So let's move on to the bigger page. So this is a header. So ideally, the header will be grouped together. So this is grouped together, it's fine. This is grouped together, is fine. So you can see here, these have the same gaps, 12, and then the gap in between this is 25. Gap in between this is 24. So I think it will not matter much if I change both to 24. Let's move that a bit closer. So I would group this together, frame this together, and this one is okay. And then these three, I will frame this together. And since this one is a rectangle, a separate layer, so we don't need that, I will delete this. And what I would do is I will add, so to have that background, full width background, I will add another frame. And then in this case, I would want to use auto layout. So I would convert this to auto layout. Click this. So it's now auto layout. Let me just move this towards, like make it full width, and change this to 0. And let's add a background for this. So fill will be dark. Yep, and let's add 10 pixels padding. And so this one is full width. We don't need this to be full width. Let's, so 80. Okay, and then let's center this. Yeah, So yeah, so that's it. So that's how I grouped this header. So these, I know that the gap here and the gap here is different, but this needs to be managed differently when you try and make this responsive when you edit the auto layout constraints for this. So now it's not all the way converted to auto layout, so it's okay. And these should be grouped together as well. So let's start by removing the overlap. Yep. So, and then I will make this a frame. These should be grouped together as well. And of course this frame. Yeah, these should be grouped. Okay, let me just, and then this frame and this frame should be grouped together. These should be grouped. Yeah, you can see I'm separating these items with the title itself, because of course when you add auto layout in here, you will have a different setting than this, and then this doesn't need to be in the auto layout frame, because it's just like a single text that needs to be full width. That's it. And then these should be grouped together, and then these should be grouped together. Yeah, this is already grouped, this is already grouped, so it's fine. Yeah, so that's how I basically group things. And just remember, if the items have the same gaps in between them, then just group them together. So I would say, you can see here, this is 37, 36, 45, 45. Actually, this one needs to be grouped. 45 and 44. So not even, but I would say we can get away with it having the same same gaps in between each other. So what I would do is I would also group all of these together, because when you convert these to auto layout, you will need to add a different constraint setting on this container, on this main body of the website versus the header and the footer. So, but we will not do that today. I mean, in here, in this frame right here, because that will be on the auto layout topic. So yeah, so that's the basics of grouping. Hope that's helpful as well. Yeah, let's move on to the next, which is adding auto layout and making your UI responsive. So this is my favorite. It's just very satisfying when you change something and your UI element or your component adjusts based on the content. So it's fluid. It will adjust the width, it will adjust the height based on the kind of setting that you added to the constraints. So so that's basically how auto layout works. It makes your content grow and shrink based on your content inside the auto layout frame. And of course it will make that means your UI will be more responsive. So you can do that in small frame. You can do that on the main frame itself, as big as this. So there's no limit to that. Okay, so adding auto layout. So let's start with a small auto layout, a small UI component again. So let's start with this. So this is a group. This is another group. So let's see. So Figma recently released an update regarding auto layout, which is a suggest auto layout. It was very exciting in the demo, and yeah, let's see how it works in here. So they said that in a smaller component it works well, but in the bigger component sometimes it's a hit or miss. So let's try with the small component. Auto layout more. Oh yeah, so suggest auto layout. Yeah, so it did that. So let's see. So it's not the same as this design, and yeah, there's a couple of things that we need to do to fix this. So you can see they group this together, the star and the name, and this is separate, this is separate, and then I group this together, which is the opposite of what I just said. Okay, let's try and fix this. I would say this one should be fill container. These are fill container already, so it's fine. I would say let's remove that, remove the gap, and the height of the whole thing to hug contents. So we have this, and then to achieve the same thing, so this like a 12 pixel padding. So let's add 12, and let's add 12 in here. So you can see that 5.0 is going beyond the width right there because it's hugged. So let's make it to fill. Let's also make this to fill. Issue over here is the grouping is not correct, so I would just ungroup this. This one, let's make it to auto width first, and let's group this together. So I will hit Shift A to make it auto layout. So it's just auto layout, so it's vertically centered, so it's fine. These two will be an auto layout frame by itself, and so you can see here the gap is 5, but what we want is to have this at the end of the frame. So two things that you can do in there, two options. So one is having that auto, so it's fine, but what I want to do is I think it's a better way of doing this. Sometimes it's not the better way depending on the situation and the context of the whole UI. What I would do is make this full width instead, and this one will be full width as well. Yep, and the benefit of this is if you have a longer text or longer name right here, you will be able to manipulate this text as well because it's set in fill. So let's add, so let's duplicate this. Let's add more text. We carry okay, let's just put the whole junior. Okay, so this disrupts the layout a little bit, but what I want to do is, since this is in fill width, I would truncate this. So that's the beauty of doing that. If you have this in so if this is not set to fill, and then this is set to hug, and then you set these to auto, when you have a text like this, you can see the effect. So it's not it will overlap. So it's better to, at some cases, better to use fill and truncate. So if you need to do this, then it will be helpful. Then I think this one we don't need. Let's move on to a bigger page. So you can see here we have a bigger frame. It's a pop-up. So I would convert this whole thing to auto layout, but let's start with the smaller ones. So all of these I will just hit Shift A as I go. So I am adding auto layout all throughout. So you can see I'm selecting the ones that has like the same gap in between them. So you can see this one, these two will have certain gap of its own, like 5, and then these will be different, it's 10. So I will select the first one that has their own gap. Okay, I think all of these can have, yeah, and then this two left and right column, we'll hit Shift A once again, and then I think that's it. And then we will hit Shift A for the whole frame. So it changes a little bit. So let's see what it was. So you can see here it has 40, 48, and 40, 30 in here. So let's hit Shift A. So let's set this to 40. This one to 48, and then this to 30. Yeah, so you can see we have almost the same. So we will fix this in a while. So this one doesn't have to be here. Let's set that to absolute. Put that at top. Yep, to position it the way you want. So now we will just fix this. So this one needs to be fill container. So it's fill container. It's fine. What I would do is I would just test this first, which if it's responsive or not. So this one is fine. Yeah, even the header is fine. So don't need to touch that. This one, so it's fill container already. This one is fixed. This one is fixed. So let's change both to fill container. So I would discuss the difference between fill container, hug contents, and fix in a while. I have like a simpler example of that. So yeah, I will explain that a little bit later. Okay, so so this one is looking good already. It's set to auto, but yeah, let's set it to like this. 32 is fine. Yeah, 32 is fine. And then let's just check the responsiveness once again. Yeah, it's actually looking good. Just change this to fill container and wrap. Yeah, I think that's what we want. And this one, maybe let's put it to fill container as well. So it's so I will just show you the issue. You can see here it's just a fixed height, so it's not occupying the whole height of this container, so it's a bit untidy. And this one is also not responsive. Okay, let's fix that. So this one is fill. Okay. Oh, let's remove that. Okay, remove this for now. And then this one, we said we want to fix the height. Instead of fixed height, we set it to fill container. Let's see it once again. Yeah, so that's basically what we want. And you can go even further on this using the constraints in here. So let's set a minimum width for both of these. So let's say in this width, which is 290, we want it to wrap. Okay, so first let's set this to minimum width of 290. Okay, and then instead of having this horizontally, the constraints is horizontal, let's set it to wrap. And yeah, so this one's fill, this one's fill. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you can see what happens in there. So when it reaches a certain point, when this two reaches 290, then it will wrap. Yeah, so that's an easy way to make your design responsive, show it to engineers, and they will immediately know the intention of this page, how it's intended to be in different sizes. So of course you can fix all of these because this one is too tall for me. The line height of this is too small, so we can fix all of these. But yeah, regardless, this is how to make your UI, to add auto layout to your UI, make it responsive. And of course, we also talked about suggest a UI feature of Figma. And yeah, so maybe, so I think that's fine. This one, yeah, we can also add auto layout in here. So let's see, this one is 305. So I will just quickly click Shift A on this and set all of these to fill. Yes, already set to fill. This one, there will be auto layout. All of these will be in one auto layout frame as well. Okay, then set all of these to auto layout, and then yeah, let's see. Oh, it's already responsive. Good, nice. So what I basically did is I just set all of these to auto layout, have this set like a minimum width to all of these, also the same as this, to make sure that it wraps as well as when you resize. So it's not perfect. You can still tweak this, but it's a good starting point, and we did it really fast. So what I basically did is I just select what I want to be included in the auto layout, and then I press Shift A, and then that's it. I didn't do much. So yeah, that's good. Okay, honorable mentions. Okay, we have two honorable mentions in here. First is when designing columns or rows, actually. Rows or columns. Just put rows or columns. Use gaps instead of padding and margin. So margin, I think is yeah, there's no margin for Figma, so let's just put padding. Okay, so let's look at this two frames right here. Looks almost the same, almost. There's some difference, a little bit of difference in there. So what you see above is a frame that has a few cards, review cards, and then below is the same, but the top one is a little bit different in terms of structure. So the structure for this, you can see I have an auto layout frame. Not sure if it's, yeah, I have a frame and I have the designer card. So the way I did I add the spacing in between them is I added a frame inside a frame, and then I added a padding inside inside the container frame to simulate the space in here. I see a lot of designers do that as well, and there's a few drawbacks in there because you will need to set styling for each of these separately. Though when you generate code for this, you just need to if all of these have one class, it's in its own class name, then you just need to add a styling for that class name. But when you're designing, you need to set it for all of them. And then yeah, basically when you're editing, it will be more work. When you're generating code, it will add necessary code because you will have styling for each of these. So what we suggest is having all of these as a standalone card, and then manage the gap in between them using the parent container, which is this. So you can see this parent container have a gap of 14. So if you want to control that gap, you just need to space it out evenly. Change it if you want to, but if in here you want to change it, what you do is you select all of these, and of course it has 7 padding on the sides, so you can manage this as well. But yeah, at least you're adding a different padding for each of them, and then you can see if there's a problem like this is not resizing the way you wanted it, then you need to tweak a little bit more. So you need to set this to fix, and yeah, that's just too many things to edit. So let's just bring it back to 7. And one other issue with this is, you can see if you zoom in a little bit, this title doesn't align with this. That's one issue. You can fix this by adding a frame here, because if this is inside an auto layout frame, you cannot just nudge this and move it to the left. So I'm pressing the right arrow key right now. Nothing is happening, right? So you cannot just nudge this to align. So what you can do in here is it's a hack. So you just add 7 in here as a left padding, and then it will be aligned. But then if you have a bigger screen like this, then you need to do that for everything. So yeah, So just avoid doing that. And yeah, it's better to handle something like this with just one styling property, which is gaps in here for auto layout. And then when you convert that to code, it's the same thing. You will just need to manage the gaps for the parent container. So just one line of CSS, easier to manage, lighter code, and yeah, of course, what we want you to have is a better quality code. So that's what we want you to help with in this session. So next is when to use fill, fix, and hug. Okay, so this is a very easy concept. Let's just fix this for a bit. Okay, so this is already auto layout, this is already auto layout. Let's resize. See, okay, it's not. So I'm just pressing Shift A. Let's make this Shift A as well. So I added auto layout for the whole frame. So this one is fine. It's resizing at least. So this one is fixed. So in this case, it's okay to have it fixed. But then when you resize it, just ignore this part first. When you resize it, this part doesn't resize. So the fix there is not to make it fix, is to make it fill. So if you make it fill container, this happens. So we don't want that as well. So what we want to do is, you can see this is 737. So let's set the fill container first and add a max width of 737. So the same as what we did in here. So once we set it to 737, it will retain the original form that we want, the original layout that we want. But when you resize, it will resize along with your container. So it's fine, it's good. So so that's fill container and fix for you. This one is fill container. It's okay. We wanted to fill the whole parent container. I mean this, and this too fill container, which is good. So in this case, right here, all these buttons are set to hug. So because this is long and this is short, it's set to hug. But there are some cases where I want these and these to be the same width. So what I would do, I will set this create brief to fix, to make sure that it's always the same width. So this is 192. I will set this to 192. So you can see, yeah, there's some issue in there, but it's okay. So when you resize this, it's always the same size. So there's some issue in there, but yeah, we'll fix it. Yep. So that's the one of the main uses of fixed width. And then also you can see there's some, I don't like this misalignment on the height, so it's different. So what I would do is here, this is where you can use fill, but on the height property. So you can see here it's hug, but let's set it to fill container to make sure that it's always the same height all throughout. So when you resize this, or this one is not a resizing. You can set it to fill as well. So let's see. Yep. So it's always, so now it's always the same height. And so what else can we do in here? So let's add a min and max width in here. So it's fill, but let's set the min and max to 540 maybe. Oops, no. Let's set the max to 540. Actually, no. Let's set the wrong. Let's set the minimum to 540. And then let's set this to wrap, so that it wraps when you resize. Yep, that's nice. That's good. But since we set these to fill container for the height, then it becomes like this. I think to fix this, Let's just set this to hug contents. Fix. Let's just set it to hug contents. Yeah, some properties will not go along well together. So yeah, so at least this one is good. Yeah, so that's basically how what's the difference between fill, fix, and hug. I think we cover at least an example for all of them, and then we are able to achieve this. Yep, it's responsive.